go catalog cruising.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Christi Moore, Tour Operations Manager here at Village and a longtime tour director. Hey, I celebrated 10 years in July. And who in the world do I have with me today? The most famous, the most beloved tour director in all of Village.
Aww.
Sylvia James is here. Hey,
Hi.
yay, Sylvia. We are here to talk to you today about our latest catalog. You should have gotten it in the mail. Looks like this. It's got a picture of my cousin on it. Anyway.
First cousin?
Yes, first cousin, yeah.
Okay.
Can you see the resemblance?
No. Yes.
Anyway.
Maybe.
Anyway, so we are here to talk about several trips with you. Have your questions ready. Speaking of questions, standing by is our marketing manager, Eli. And say hi, Eli.
Hello. I'm happy to be here yet again. Like she mentioned, if you guys have questions, we already have a few people who have typed their questions, but at the bottom of your Zoom window, there's a button that says Q&A. You click that. You can type whatever questions you have into there, and we'll try our best to get to those live during the webinar today. If we're not able to, we'll try and answer them via chat, or we'll try and contact you afterwards. But if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A, and then we'll try and get to them live later on in the webinar. But with that, I'm going to pass it back off to you ladies, and you can talk us about some new tours.
Thank you so much. We are going to talk about some new tours. We're going to talk about a couple of things that are legacies and things that you may not know about. We like to talk to people, and as people come in for departures here in Wichita, I get a good feel of, hey, tell us a little bit about this tour. I'm like, you know what? Tune in and we'll talk about it. So the very first thing we're going to talk about today is the Sandhill crane migration. That sounds crazy, right? Sandhill cranes, cranes, there's so much construction. I would think that the construction cranes, you'd want that to migrate out. Okay, not that. But I have a feeling that like the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta that we go to every year, this Sandhill crane migration is probably like that, where you have to be there to see it. Videos and photos, they just don't do it justice. So I'm sure that it is. That's an awe-inspiring event, a one-of-a-kind nature experience. Thousands of these birds will fill the skies over Nebraska, and they winter in Texas and California, Arizona, New Mexico, places like that. And so when you go to see that, this is their stopover. They stop over in Nebraska. And if you're a nature lover, if you're a bird enthusiast, or if you're someone, seeking a unique moment in nature, this is the trip for you. Or if you just like getting up early, this is a great trip, because you're going to get up early and you're going to stay up late.
Just like the Balloon Fest.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Same
You're going to
thing.
get up early. You're going to, and then you're going to see these birds. But that's not all. There's several different stops on this trip that are also great. The Stir Museum is a living history museum that is fascinating. They have live demonstrations, a blacksmith shop. They have a working telegraph office, a general store. So it's really something to see also. So there's more than just the crane migration, but this is a quick 4-day trip, or a 3-day trip, So you can go for 3 days. This is on page 10, and you can look at that. It goes March 10th through the 12th, and so you'll need to call soon on that. I know that it's starting to fill up, actually, so people are very, very interested in this natural phenomenon of all these cranes taking off. So
I've not seen it, but my sister lived in Nebraska, and they went several years in a row, and she absolutely raved about this experience.
That's good.
So I think,
we recommend it, in other words.
Without a doubt.
Go see the crane migration.
Yeah.
So that's in March, and that is on page 10 if you have any questions. It is an activity level 4, which is challenging because you get up early, because you're going to be out in nature, and you're going to be walking out in areas, and you're going to be there late at night, and you're going to see a morning and an evening migration. So you're going to be out in the cold. It might be nice, it might be a little cooler. So we make that challenging because we want you to know. We can talk about activity levels here coming up before too long. So, okay, so if you've never cruised or you've never cruised with Village, we're going to turn over to page 13, and we're going to talk about the Royal Cochin Cruise. Now, something I love about what we do at Village is we put you in a bus on our Cochin cruises, and the bus usually originates in Wichita, and we pick you up in Oklahoma City. Tulsa will come over to Oklahoma City, and we send you on down to stay in a Drury hotel, which many of you are familiar with the Druries. Kickback, 3 free drinks, but if you don't partake, you can get sodas and anything like that, and a lovely dinner. So that's kickback. But we stay right there north of Houston in the Woodlands, and then you make your way to the port the following day there in Galveston, and you board the ship. You get your luggage, you unpack one time, and then you get to cruise. Sylvia, talk to us about that.
Cruising is phenomenal. I absolutely, and this is a Royal Caribbean promenade deck. I can't say enough about cruising. It's relaxing. If you want to walk as much as you can, you can do that. Or if you don't like walking a lot, you don't have to do. You do anything you want to do. If you want to lay on the beach, if you want to do an excursion, it's all your choice. The excursions are separate. You pay for them, but you can do as much as you want or as little as you want, and it is wonderful.
Some of the great things that you can do, excursions, they offer all kinds of excursions on all kinds of different cruises. This particular cruise that we're talking about on page 13 leaves April 5th, and there are 3 ports on this one, so that means you've got several sea days and you've got several port days. So they're going to go to Roatan, where they have beautiful beaches. You can sign up to go to a resort, or you can stay on the ship if you want to, or you can walk and shop. You can do whatever you like. Some of the excursions that are offered through Royal Caribbean are parasailing. They have
Zip lining,
rum tasting. They have usually historical tours through the area. You can go and stay. You can book an excursion through the ship and make your way to a resort, and they provide you with lunch and
umbrellas,
beach time, whatever you want. And hint, on this tour, someone that we know will be the tour director. So if you'd like to travel with Sylvia on a wonderful cruise, and she's done a lot of cruises with Village, so there's nobody that knows the ins and outs of boarding the ship and debarkation on the ship better than Sylvia. She's cruised all over the world, so we want
Come and go with me.
Yeah, go with her on this cruise.
It will be fun.
We mentioned Roatan. Also, Costa Maya is one of the ports, and also Cozumel. And on this ship, they have all kinds of activities that you can do on board ship too. And I think we have a question. What's up, Eli?
Somebody asked about with the meals while on the cruise ship. How many of those meals happen together as a group, or is it always kind of like you kind of choose your own and eat by yourself?
That's a really good question.
The question is if meals are when they're included, and how many you eat with the group and how many are on your own. Now that is also up to you. You're open to a lot of different things. So we plan a group meal. Usually we try to get the early meal, and on various cruises it varies. Royal Caribbean, this particular cruise, we will book the dining as a group at several different tables, and you'll eat around 6 o'clock as a group. But if you want to do specialty dining, which is an extra charge, but let's say that you and your spouse are going to celebrate a lovely evening and you want to go to the steakhouse on board, you can totally do that. You just need to make a reservation when you board the ship. So You don't have to go. I have had people travel with Village, go on a cruise, sit on their balcony, read books, and never come to dinner.
True.
And that's what the beautiful part about it. That's what Sylvia was describing, is that you can do as much or as little as you like. So you don't always have to go up and watch the ping pong tournament or, watch the hairy leg contest, although that is something I like to judge. Or the belly flop contest. But they have all kinds of things. They have trivia, they have bingo, all kinds of things for your sea days, and you don't ever have to feel obligated to attend any meal as a group. The only thing that we ask is that one member of your cabin attend the debarkation meeting, where Sylvia will then explain what the procedure is, where to meet, what time to do your luggage, what the procedure will be on coming home. And the nice thing about that is we bring you home in one day. So you're ready to get home. So we deboard the ship in Galveston, and then we bring you all the way home. It's a long day in the bus, but it's fun.
Usually stop at Buc-ee's and get lunch to take with us because we want to get home. And
that's right.
Village people love Buc-ee's as much as they love Drury.
Yeah, and if you haven't ever been to Buc-ee's, we give you enough time to shop a little too, and this will be perfect. Just right around springtime. They'll have all of the summery goods for barbecuing and all of that stuff.
So if you want to eat with the group every night, you certainly have that opportunity.
Yeah. Now this next trip is a brand new tour. It is called Best of California, and it's the one on display up here. And it's so exciting. Takes up 2 pages. It is on page 20 and 21 in your catalog. It leaves April 29th and goes through May 11th. So it is a 13-day trip, but once you look at all of the activities that we're doing on this trip, I think everything you can think of, all the iconic things that you would want to do and
without a doubt
in California, we're doing it. They have built this trip. One of the nice things is it's fly both ways. So you get there quick, you get home quick. Which
is wonderful. You don't have long days trying to get there. You're there quickly.
And that way you can also spend the time on the trip.
More time,
instead of getting to the trip.
Absolutely.
Basically.
Yeah.
Now, we do great bus trips where you can stop along the way. But this is one of those trips that we wanted to, it is chock full of all kinds of activities and things. So we go to the San Diego Zoo, which is an impeccable zoo. If you've never been to the San Diego Zoo, I mean, people rave about how clean it is, how helpful the staff is. It's probably the most iconic and most famous zoo, certainly in the U.S., but maybe maybe in the world. And it is really worth it. It's got the pandas, but so much more. I mean, go for the pandas, stay for the
popcorn.
Yeah, okay, popcorn or hyenas. I don't know. We have a question. Eli.
While you're talking about the zoo, perfectly enough, do you have any idea of an ETA for how long we'll be able to have at the zoo? Because I know it's pretty large. And then also someone mentioned about the Haight-Ashbury area of San Francisco. I don't know how much we know about what the touring there in San Francisco will be like, but they'd asked about that specifically.
We'll talk about San Francisco here in just a minute, and I will bring up Haight-Ashbury. The San Diego Zoo, it looks like you will probably have a fair amount of time. I don't have the details of that itinerary yet, but we wouldn't just take you for an hour or so.
You should have at least
San Diego Zoo.
You should have at least the morning, because the afternoon is a museum. So
so we should be able to. We should oh yes. So we go to the zoo. Yeah. We go to the museum. So. I would say probably a good four hours or so at least, and we'll probably be there right at open, I would guess. And because you're staying in San Diego that night, you're going to be staying in San Diego for 2 nights. So that's a great thing. Then going from San Diego up to LA, you're going to ride the Amtrak, and that is a beautiful ride right along the beach. You're going to be able to see the ocean almost the entire ride. And, you know, that's not something you can get in Oklahoma and Kansas.
No, it is not. No, we don't have the beach here.
What'd you call me? Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I didn't know.
Anyway, so we love that train ride. And what a view. And then it goes, something else we're doing is the Ronald Reagan Library. If you've not seen the Ronald Reagan Library, it is one of the best done. I mean, I think it's one of the most well done libraries. It's got a beautiful view setting right out there. You overlook these beautiful valleys and everything, but it's got Air Force One that you can go through. It's got holograms of him talking and some of his speeches and things. It's really, really nice. And part of the Berlin Wall is there. I mean, there are so many great things to see at that library. I think that you will really, really like it. And then you're headed up to Salinas, you know, famous from Bobby McGee. One day up near Salinas, Lord, I let him slip away. Salinas Valley you're going to. So that's pretty exciting. And then you're going to get to San Francisco. We talked about Haight-Ashbury. You're actually going to stay at the Zephyr Hotel, which is literally a block from Fisherman's Wharf. That hotel is wonderful. You can you can walk around. You're right next to an IHOP. You go around. I mean, who wants to eat at IHOP when you're right there with all the great seafood restaurants and Bowden Bakery? The Bowden Bakery's been there since 1849, and they make bread into all kinds of shapes. So even if you don't eat there, which they do have a light menu, cafe, you should go by and see the
displayed in the front window.
Yeah, the sourdough, the sourdough bread in the shape of a crab or a streetcar, whatever. You can see all of that. You do have some free time while you're in San Francisco. You're doing a city tour, but you do have a little bit of free time.
So they have time to ride the trolley if they want to.
Yeah, you can do the trolley. You can go over to Ghirardelli because that's the home of Ghirardelli chocolate. That's really great. But that is when you would also be able to spend a little time in Haight-Ashbury if you want to. That would probably be on your own. And nice thing about what Village offers, on a city tour, we are usually there with an expert of the area. So we're going to be on the bus, our own bus, with a step-on guide. That step-on guide will be able to tell you exactly, here's the train you would need to get on, or here's a bus, or here's an Uber, and really help you get over to the area that you want to see if you want to go to Ghirardelli or if you want to see Haight-Ashbury. So we'll drive through Haight-Ashbury, the area, on the city tour, and that city guide will be able to tell you, hey, you can get off here, you can come over here, and this is where you want to come. These are the shops that you want to see. This is the great record store. So they can point out things to you. Something else I want to talk about with the San Francisco portion of the California trip is, for the very first time and the only time of any tour in California, Alcatraz is included. You are going to get to go and walk through Alcatraz. Something we've never done, something that people have wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, we usually just boat around it.
We boat around it, and I had a gentleman one time that said, I'm going to try to get tickets, but the thing is, you got to get tickets months and months in advance, but we have them for this trip. So that is something that if you've had that in your mind,
that's big.
They have a guided tour there, and then and I think you have some maybe it's self-guided at Alcatraz. Is that what it says? Yeah. Anyway.
Self-guided.
Self-guided. Audio. So an audio tour. Yeah. So you'll be able to see where, some of the most famous convicts stayed and tried to break out. Maybe you can try to break out. I don't know. I mean, maybe you won't want to. Maybe you'll want to stay.
No, want to stay.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Anyway, and then also there's a great place, Biscoff cookies.
Yes.
I love those little cookies.
Yeah.
There's a cafe that makes them there. I mean, Biscoff comes from San Francisco, so there's a cafe there called the Biscoff Coffee Cafe, Biscoff Coffee Corner. So that's a wonderful place. Also going to go to Yosemite. Have you been there?
I have.
Tell them about that, the beautiful trees and the...
It is absolutely incredible. You know, not too many people get to go to Yosemite, so just to be able to see El Capitan, it's an amazing place to see. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lake Tahoe. I mean, some of these most iconic, beautiful spots in California. I feel like we're going on and on and on about California, but they're going to you're going to go.
It's a big one.
It's a big state, and you have to encompass all of this because if you call it the best of California, we intend to give you the best of California. The Napa Valley wineries, we're going to do that. You're also going to go to Catalina Island, and of course, Hollywood. So if you have dreams of becoming a star, you never know who might be walking down Hollywood Boulevard and say, "Man, I want to make you famous."
True.
It's never happened to me.
But you've been famous.
Well, I mean, I'm famous.
Did you perform on Broadway?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
and
I
in
rest
certain
my
circles,
case.
In certain circles, I'm famous. But anyway, what else can you want? And the fly thing, like I mentioned before. So book your trip on this one because this is a great trip, and really this is also listed as a challenging tour, but that's because it is long enough and. You know, you're going to do a lot of different activities in this trip, and so you'll have things. Yes, Eli, another question.
Someone had a question regarding the national parks. When they're there, how many of the national park visits are drive-through, or will they actually get off and do some walking around?
The good question. So Eli's question, or the question from the viewer, is. How often do we get off and get to walk around and take photos and things in the national parks? And on this trip, I'm not 100% sure, and it really varies.
Depends on where you are.
Depends on where you are.
How much time you have.
We always have certificate of entrance into the national parks. So sometimes we drive through it. It also depends on the timing, and it also depends on when. What we have following the national park. So it's best to call if you have a specific question about a specific national park and what's following it or what comes before. I know in Nature's Canyons, we visit a lot of national parks, and so it varies. So that's the best answer I have, and we can answer it a little bit more specifically on each tour that we go on. So, okay. Wonderful. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to turn it over to Sylvia because she knows a lot about this. I think she's visited almost every stop on this tour. Isn't Steps of Faith next? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
You're like, where are we going? So on page 27, it's also a brand new tour. It's called Steps of Faith. And nobody better to talk about it than Sylvia. So go take it away, girly girl.
So last year I got to do the trip that was similar to this, and they've adjusted this one somewhat, but we did a lot of the same things that's on here. The Billy Graham Museum. Oh my goodness. His children put it together, and they couldn't have highlighted him any better. It is an absolutely wonderful venture. What an opportunity and you learn so much about Billy Graham. You thought you knew him because he was publicized, but you learn a lot more about him by going through the museum.
It's probably nice to see the personal side with his kids.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Because such a public figure, you
just kind of walk through his life. It was
and you see him from a personal, and as a father rather than the
saw
famous,
him on the screen.
famous minister. Yeah.
Great Smoky Mountain Railroad. How can any train trip not be phenomenal? I love doing trains. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Bible Museum, I have to admit I've not been to it, but we went to the Bible Museum in New York last year, and I can't imagine this. I mean, in D.C., I can't imagine this not being as wonderful. Question.
Actually, about the Tennessee Bible Museum, this was something I found quite interesting when I was looking into this tour. The Tennessee Bible Museum has a full-size, working replica of the Gutenberg printing press that they will do test prints and demonstrations. It's pretty incredible.
Now, can they hear you, Eli? Do I need to say that again?
No, they should be able to hear me, I think.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah.
I've been repeating your questions. Okay. Shows you how much we've communicated.
And the steps of faith. The steps of faith also includes the sight and sound, and the new one is
David.
David, thank you. If you've never been to Sight and Sound, oh my goodness, it is a very moving experience. But you know, the thing about this Steps of Faith is you're guaranteed to take your faith with you on this trip, and no one's going to criticize you for it. It's a very moving experience. I loved it last year. Got to take some of my family members with me last year, but I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
That's good. And you know, Pigeon Forge. You're staying in Pigeon Forge, the home
Oh,
of Dolly
yes.
Parton.
Yes.
So you want to certainly, you know, do that. And you're also going to go see the Great Passion Play.
Oh, I forgot about that.
In Bentonville.
Yes.
And if you've never done that, that is amazing.
Yep.
I grew up near there, only a couple of hours from Bentonville, and that is something we used to go to, and it really is phenomenal. And we hope that no one criticizes you for your faith on any trip, but this is one that really celebrates it.
You can let it shine.
Yeah, you can celebrate it for certain. You know, for certain. So,
it's an incredible trip.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, come and do it, because that's only is that 8 days? I've got my contacts in. I can't see.
It is an 8-day trip.
8-day trip, and so that's a little. It's it's not so long that you feel like you got to be away from your little doggy or your kitties for or your grandkids for 2 weeks at a time. But that's a nice, beautiful, medium-sized trip that we highly recommend.
And I might say, as you can tell as you're looking at it, you do fly into Charlotte, North Carolina, so you're busing back. You don't have that long trip getting there, so that's a big plus too.
Right. That is something
you
that's
get
nice.
to see that much more.
Yeah. So the way we do some of these trips are we hook it to another trip that will we call it a hook, and we'll talk a little bit about Alaska in just a little while. But for example, our Alaska trip, we take a trip that leads the bus out, and then that group flies home, and then what happens is the bus driver and the bus will deadhead. That means no passengers will go into Alaska, and then the subsequent groups fly back and forth, and then that final group will fly in to Seattle or somewhere like that usually, and then motor coach all the way home. And we do that with 2 buses on the fall foliage trips as well. So if you're ever worried that we might not be in one of the village coaches, you will be on those Alaska and on those fall foliage trips, because, Village is award-winning for safety and maintenance. We also recently won an award for our environmental efforts. So we're doing everything in the right way, and it gives you a comfort to know that it's our driver in our motor coach, and they're well-maintained, and you're going to be taken care of. So we want to make sure that you know. So when you fly in to North Carolina for the Steps of Faith, you're going to be on our motor coach. And the same with California. You'll be on our motor coach.
And we have incredible drivers.
Yeah,
oh,
we
my
do.
goodness.
Yeah. They can do anything.
They do things that...
Most of you know Donovan, and I've seen Donovan back through a city, several city blocks. I'm not saying that he was happy about it, but he did it, and he did it well. So, anyway.
Agree.
Continuing on, we're going to turn over to page 29, and we're going to talk a little bit about a brand new tour. Now, we don't want you to think that this is only for men, but it is a Branson fishing trip. So if you like to fish, male or female, come on and book this trip. Let me tell you, I say built for a man in mind, but strong enough for a woman. Isn't that like secret deodorant?
Without a doubt.
Strong enough for a man, but made for a woman. Anyway, so this is a great trip. This has got a little bit of everything that Branson offers. And so one of the things that I'm really excited about that we've included in this, and I don't know if you've ever been to the Veterans.
I have not, but I saw that, and that would be wonderful.
That Veterans Memorial Museum. I went there on 4th of July, on a 4th of July trip several years ago, and that is such a well-done museum. There is a life-size replica of storming the beach. And it's a statue outside of the museum. So that's a great photo opportunity. They also have some plaques on the wall, but every state, it's 50 soldiers, and every state is represented on there. And so you can find your state and take a picture. And they are built, it's a copper statue, and they're built based on a real soldier from that state. So it's fascinating. But the walls are lined with people who served but didn't make it home. And what a moving honor to be in the presence of that. There's all kinds of memorabilia, over 2,000 pieces of memorabilia from veterans of many wars. But so that is something. I know I've spent a lot of time talking about that, but it really is. And we don't go to that museum very much on these Branson tours. Sometimes we're more geared towards shows and museums and fun, and that is something that's very, very moving. We're also visiting the Farm and Auto Museum there in Branson, I mean, it's just a powerful visit to the museum. So we want you to do that now.
So veterans,
yeah, and we want your photos of those.
Yeah, even if you're not, but especially veterans.
And veterans and veteran spouses. Sometimes we overlook the veteran spouses who also serve. So come on down and I think you'll be really proud of how well that's put together.
And if you're a veteran and you love fishing, there you go. Or if you're not a veteran and you love fishing,
and if you like fishing for veterans, I don't know. Anyway, we also so we're gonna be fishing on Lake Taneycomo. Not Perrycomo, Taneycomo. We're going to be fishing
for bass.
Yes, well, yeah, and it's a diverse.
No. Is it for bass?
I think it's
for anything they want to catch. Trout
fishing on Lake Taneycomo, and that's a real diverse fishing lake. One of the most diverse fishing lakes in the country, I think. Wow. So we want you to come and do that. And do we have a question about that? Fishing?
We did have somebody that asked a little question earlier.
Yeah.
I know there's a little note on the flyer that talks about you can bring your own fishing equipment if you have it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know how much you can speak to that, but they asked specifically about would we be fishing from boats, from docks, or wading out in the water, or that kind of thing.
I don't think you'll be wading that much. I do think I think you'll be on either land or a boat, but I know you get in boats and you have a guide there. I don't know if in addition to the boat there will be any opportunity to fish from a pier or the side of the lake. I don't really know about that specifically, but you will be in boats, and I don't think you'll need waders. And
I assume if someone's wanting to bring their own fishing gear or equipment, is that something they should just coordinate and let the reservationist or someone know ahead of time if they're planning to bring something?
They could certainly do that. We'll have room in the coach underneath with the luggage. We'll want them to be sure and bring their name on it. If it's not written in marker, if it's not tagged, we certainly don't want someone else grabbing your fishing rod. If it's your lucky fishing rod, we don't want someone else to catch all the fish and then leave you in the
yeah, of course. And probably best to be modest about the gear that you bring. If you got some expert fishermen out there, bring the small tackle box.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, bring it. Yeah, I mean, we will have your luggage and things too, and so we will have space, space for that. You're also
perfect.
I guess if I want to send my husband and son, I better get them signed up pretty quick before it fills up.
Yeah, you really should. Yeah.
Okay.
Sylvia's
put it on my list.
You might get to meet Sylvia's husband and son if you go on this trip, and you probably get some good insight on this one.
But don't believe anything they might necessarily say.
Don't believe everything you hear about Sylvia. We're also going to spend some time at the Bass Pro, which would be great. So if you love doing that, Branson's got a really nice one there at the Branson Landing, and you'll have a chance to spend a little time there. So if you want to do a little shopping, you can do that as well. We're also seeing Pierce Arrow, and I don't know if you've ever been to Pierce Arrow, but they are known for their low bass voice. The one guy, he owns, like, I think he holds some kind of record for holding the longest low note.
Can you sing bass?
I just did. Didn't you like it?
Yes. I loved it.
Oh my gosh, the two of us together, who knew? Anyway, but this 3-day adventure is really fun. I think that is something that you guys will have a fun time. We're also going to visit the fish hatchery in Neosho, Missouri, and so if you don't catch anything, you'll be guaranteed to see some fish, even if you don't catch anything in Lake Taneycomo.
Because there's no guarantee.
No guarantee. No, we can't guarantee that. No. That's like saying, cue the fish. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to turn over right now to page 43, and we're going to talk a little bit about Red Rocks to Rockies. Now, this is a trip that we've done before, but this is, so far in the last few years, this is an every other year tour. So we'll do it in 25, but we won't do it in 26. We'll probably bring it back in 27, depending on its popularity. But we have several different really interesting things that happen on this Red Rocks trip. The prison museum is, people think, well, what'll that be? But they come back saying that was one of the most fascinating
what I've heard
things, and I've not been there, but it covers like 140 years of the history of the prison life, famous people who stayed there.
Have you been?
You mean as a guest?
No.
No, I've never been a resident at the prison.
That's what I meant.
Thank you for thinking so, though. I'm a rebel. What can I say?
Some things you don't know if you don't ask.
You get to go to the Royal Gorge on this trip, which you go to, you go over the bridge in a gondola ride. You also get to visit an alpaca farm. Now, alpacas are not only adorable, but they are very, very popular with our all-stars.
They love them.
They love the alpacas.
Love
and I had a pair of alpaca socks that lasted me for like 10 years, and they are the warmest socks I ever had. Anyway, so that's basically one of those. But anyway, also it's a kind of a nice peaceful environment, and as many of our passengers are good, solid Midwesterners, it's nice to support a local farm.
Truth.
At the same time, So it's one of those things that will, that's something that you can feel good about, as well as being entertained and just kind of being peaceful there at the farm. There's some train rides. There's an old fort in that trip. You go to Arches National Park, so you've seen those iconic landmarks of, the longest natural arches in the world. And this one is going to sell out fast. Believe me, this one will go. So you'll want to definitely call soon if these kinds of activities. And once you read through and you see that you're going to Moab, you'll be in Glenwood Springs, which is a cute little town.
Yes.
And so there's all kinds of great things included in this tour.
The Rocky Mountaineer.
Well, the Rocky Mountaineer, that train ride is worth the whole thing. You're going to the steelworks. Anyway, so there's a lot of different things. You'll end up in Lyman the night before, and then you'll just drive all the way back. So this is a 7-day trip. So once again, one of those medium-sized trips where you don't feel like you have to be gone too long, but you really get your money's worth on everything that you would dream of seeing. Yes, we got a question.
With the Rocky Mountaineer train, what all is included while on the train ride? What's the inside of the train like? I don't know if either of you know.
Do you know the answer to that?
I do. I do not, to be honest.
I can do a little bit. I can do a little bit of looking up online, and we'll come back to that one at the end.
Yeah.
The scenery is phenomenal.
It's
a
great way to
gorgeous.
See the area. Certainly,
just beautiful.
Yeah. I think they spend the night right on that trip, on that train. Do they spend the night on the train? Oh, maybe not.
No, I don't.
Never mind. I don't know. Anyway. So we're gonna find out, but if to the lounge, enjoy the elevated dining experience. Yeah. Oh, you'll stay in Glenwood Springs.
Oh, that's
so. Okay. But that's a nice area. So.
I just did a quick look up. That Rocky Mountaineer train is actually, it's advertised, it is a luxury train ride. It's got the like open viewing cars and food service and drink service. It seems pretty swanky.
Yeah. It seems impossible that the two of us combined, with as many trips as we've done, we wouldn't know about it. I've never done the Rocky Mountaineer. Have you done it?
I have not done it.
Yeah, so we have to be honest. We don't want to lie to you and tell you things that we don't know. So thank goodness for
I've
Eli.
been on the trains with the observation decks, and they are
Especially
wonderful.
in the mountains.
Yes.
You know?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, you know, and you've been with Village how long? 17 years? 17 years and 10 years. So in the 27 years combined that we've done tours, and I'm at 180, so you must be at maybe double that. I don't know. Anyway, how many ever tours that we've been on, and we've never done that. So maybe she and I will go as passengers.
Oh, I think we should.
I think we should too.
Oh my goodness.
No
that train-
promises, but yeah.
that trip,
so,
oh my.
yeah.
It would never be the same.
Well, when people would
they'd talk about us.
they will. I think they're going to anyway.
Oh, that may be true.
Okay. Anyway, so that's a great trip. We want you to try to make plans to do that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this next trip it's a brand new tour. It's listed as a brand new tour because parts of it are brand new, parts of it we've been to before, but it's Heart of Italy, and that is on page 45. And this Heart of Italy trip is something that we've been planning for a while, and very excited about it. So I was recently in Italy for the first time, and my grandfather was born in Naples, and I was fascinated. It was great to walk where he had walked, and so that was a great personal time for me to be there. But I'm going to let Sylvia share with you because of two things. First of all, Sylvia's been on Treasures of Europe several times, and so she's traveled through Italy different times. One of her favorite, most beautiful places to her on earth is included in this tour, and you'll get to see it through her eyes as well because Sylvia is the tour director on Heart of Italy. So I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about some of that.
And let me just say, I feel so incredibly blessed to be able to get to do this. Oh my goodness. Capri, the Isle of Capri is, as Christi said, to me the most beautiful place I've ever seen. The icing on the cake, the Blue Grotto. So much I could say about that. I've not stayed on the Isle of Capri. I just rode a boat from Sorrento to the island, but we're going to get to spend 2 nights on the Isle of Capri. And
that's amazing.
I'm so excited I can hardly contain myself. I'm looking forward to it. My husband's supposed to go with me because he has not seen the Isle of Capri. And I've been married to him for 53 years. I mean, 106 to be honest. We each have 53. But he's heard me say for many years, oh, I want you to see the Isle of Capri. I had hoped to go for our 50th. We didn't get to do that. So getting that opportunity. Anyway, there's so much in Italy to see. I think this might be my 5th time to Italy, and that pitiful. I don't even know how many times I've been. But we'll get to see Venice. Venice is
so iconic.
It is iconic. It's all of the islands, and they've got all the bridges, and it's just iconic. It's a good name to
yeah.
And Florence, and is this Assisi, I think?
Yeah.
Assisi's on here,
Mm-hmm.
the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Everything Italy is on this trip.
Sistine Chapel they get to visit.
Yes. Rome.
And that alone is...
I mean, I can't say enough about it. Come and go with me.
And you know
you'll enjoy it.
You know what's really great, too, about having Sylvia on the trip is she mentioned she'd been there 5 times. She's going to know some of the ins and outs. And what we do on international trips is we partner with a great group called Colette. And Colette will help guide us. So if you have any questions about, oh, we've got some free time, where shall I go? Between Colette and Sylvia, you're going to have all the great ins and outs of everything that you should try and do. while you're there. So this is a great opportunity to see Italy as a first-timer there through the eyes of people who have been there and an expert guide with Colette. You can't really ask for anything better.
No,
I mean, that really is a great way to see it. Plus, you see a lot of everything.
The Colette guide meets us at the airport, and they're with us till we get back on the plane. So they're actually guiding us through. But as she said, if there's free time, then I go to the Colette guide and say, hey, what do you recommend? Or you can go to the Colette guide, say, what do you recommend? How do I get here? What's the best way? So,
and Sylvia will also have some favorite things that she possibly has done prior to now and say, hey, everybody, I'm going over here to this great cafe and join me, or hey, there's another cafe if you have that in mind. So there's all kinds of things. I mean, I can't say enough about it. People enjoy going to Italy, but they not only enjoy it, they fall in love with Italy. And so we would love for you to join us on this tour. And we will have an in-person meeting. For most of our international trips, we have in-person meetings to talk all about what the procedures will be. And so we'll do that in all locations where we have people that have signed up to go on that trip. So you can still book Heart of Italy, and we hope that you'll do that.
yes, agree.
And speaking of in-person meetings, we haven't covered a lot about Alaska on this Catalog Cruisin', even though there are some Alaska trips mentioned in the book. The catalog, this is our catalog to sell Alaska. But we are going to have some in-person meetings that are informational meetings. These are not just for people who have reserved spots on the trips. So our Alaska trips are really popular every year. We usually do anywhere between 6 and 12 trips to Alaska, and like I mentioned earlier, some are just cruises, some are land and cruise. We have a couple of new ones this year, but instead of talking about it here in the Catalog Cruisin', we're going to have those informational meetings, and let me tell you when those are going to be. In Tulsa, we're going to have that on January the 8th at 10 a.m., and then that same day in the afternoon, we'll travel over to Oklahoma City, and we will have the informational meeting at 2 p.m. in Oklahoma City. So that's January the 8th. And then we're going to be doing our Wichita meeting on January the 14th at 1 p.m. So you go to the location. You'll go to the Tulsa Departure Center. You'll go to the brand new Oklahoma City Departure Center. And you'll come to the Wichita Departure Center, and on those various days, on the 8th and the 14th, and then we will be here talking about all things Alaska. We'll explain them a little bit more in depth because a lot of people have questions about the differences in tours. And so we will answer all your questions. There'll be a group of us, Julie, our resident coordinator that she books and plans all of the Alaska trips and have been on several of them. Danielle, our sales director, Nikki, our marketing assistant, and then I will also be involved in the one in Wichita. So we want you to make sure to make plans to see those, so that you can get all your Alaska questions answered too.
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions?
I have
Yes.
one.
We
Okay,
actually
what's the
have
question?
several questions,
Are
but
you
yeah, go
married
ahead.
yet?
I'm not married yet.
Okay.
So
Not yet.
I felt a need to ask.
so call me, baby. Anyway.
We do have lots of phenomenal questions that came in through the Q&A, so we'll kind of
Okay.
try and breeze
Great.
through these.
Yeah, breeze through them.
Several mentions about the activity levels. Maybe you can cover real quick just a little bit of the difference when we see a level 4 compared to a level 3. What's kind of the factors there?
Yeah, the best thing I can tell you is in the very front of the catalog, we do have an activity level. And here's a hard thing, because activity levels are a little bit hard to gauge. So only you can really tell your abilities. And I know that it's hard. I would love to be able to tell you that I can jump as high and run as fast as I did when I was 25. And I know it's not true, because at this age,
I don't run or
It's just
jump
not.
either one.
But my mind will tell me I can. So that's just a little bit about me. No wonder I'm not married. But anyway, the between moderate, active, and challenging are really what, So it really is, sometimes you can walk, but you can't stand as long. Sometimes that's harder on your back and your legs and your, sciatic nerve and things than it is to just be walking the whole time. We do take it very seriously, but it's hard to gauge. So you really need to read through the activity level descriptions and decide. And then if you have other questions, feel free to call us, and you can call me directly. Call any location and ask for me, and we can talk through certain parts of each tour to let you know what it is. Because sometimes people will think, well, I'm in my 80s and I don't think I'm able to do that trip. And there are people in their 60s that might not be able to do the trip. It's really a personal.
Depends on the trip.
It really depends on the trip
and the person.
And so the differences are hard to kind of gauge unless you had a specific trip in mind. But read through those descriptions and give us a call if you have questions specifically.
Yeah, that's great. We also had a question about the baseball tour, the Midwest Baseball, I believe. Has the final itinerary for that been decided? I know in the catalog there was still some itinerary details up in the air.
Right. We will have those as soon as all of that's ready. That will hit the website. We have most of it decided. We are going to Cooperstown. We're going to see 5 games. We know pretty much where we're going. We know we're going to see the Yankees. We know we're going to see the Mets. 2 playoff teams this year, so we're going to see them play for sure. And the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown is a definite. So we're working those final things out, and so we keep watching the website and give us a call if you have if you have questions about that. And as soon as we have that completely finalized, sometimes it's hard to pin down, and sometimes various schedules for Major League Football, baseball, all of that, they change and they haven't got it set yet. So we will have that information.
Yes, but rest assured it will be as jam-packed with fun, exciting events and stuff as any other.
Baseball trips.
Yeah.
Love it.
Fantastic. Somebody asked about the Montreal and Quebec City Christmas. It has been sort of in the listed as coming soon.
Right.
What is it that is kind of waiting on? Can we expect when we will hear about that tour?
That part, I'm not sure when we'll have that all finalized. It will be soon. And with that, I want to talk a little bit about on the inside cover, on page 46 of your catalog, there are trips listed as coming soon, and Montreal, Quebec City is one of those. If you scan this QR code, you'll be notified when things hit. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Eli?
Yes, if you scan and sign up to be alerted about those tours, then once it's posted to the website, you'll receive an email in your inbox saying, hey, that tour you wanted to know about, it's live now, ready to book.
Right. So to be honest, to tell you what we're waiting on with that, to be honest, we fill these catalogs, and because that is Christmas, December of 25, we're working on showing you some of the trips that are in the spring. And
if I remember correctly,
hit the next catalog.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I want to say that it was related to flights to Canada. Because of that time period, they don't let us buy or see the flight information that far ahead. So I believe that's what they're waiting on. But we should be able to put those out on the website for booking very soon.
Right, and it will. And I'm assuming that'll be in the next catalog that'll be out in mid-January.
That's the plan. That's the plan. Yeah.
So we're hoping for that. So if you see something that you like in the coming soon, we want you to scan this, sign up for the tour, sign up to get information about the tour. It doesn't obligate you to travel on it, but you will get the information as soon as it hits the website.
Somebody just asked in response to that, they asked, what if they don't have anything to scan the QR code? If you don't have like a mobile device, a cell phone that can scan it, you can call into the office, let the reservationist know that you want to be alerted, and they can get you on that form as well.
Or if they have kids or grandkids.
Yeah.
Because they can do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Somebody asked about solo travel. They asked about the price difference between solo and doubles.
So when you book as a solo traveler, when it says single on any given page, you'll find Nature's Canyons, you'll see the single price, the double price, the quad price, the triple price. You're buying a single room. And that does not mean that you're buying a single seat on the motor coach. That means you're getting a single room by yourself, and you may end up being seated with someone else. It does talk about that in the motor coach seating in the back of the catalog, and that is just something that happens. We want as many people to enjoy these tours as we can. And I recently had someone who said, well, I wish I was seated by myself, but it was a full motor coach, 49 people. And so she was seated with another lady. They became the best of friends, and I think they're planning to travel on tours.
I see that happen a lot.
It happens all the time. So try to be open-minded about that, and we do our very best to get you everything that you request. There'd be no benefit for us to not give you everything that you'd like, but that is just our policy, that you're buying a single room and not a single seat on the bus.
So let me ask this, because I've been asked this question and I didn't know the answer. Can I buy 2 seats?
Sure. I think so. I think we probably can. That's going to be a Danielle and a Jeff question, but
I've been asked that.
But let's, some people say that they would be willing to pay more. So, but that gets into a slippery slope, and so that is a little bit above my title of tour operations manager. I know it seems like I'm in charge, but there are 2 people over me that I got to maybe.
I know another message. I know another message for single travelers out there. If your concern is primarily just the cost and not necessarily the seating arrangement, we have a Facebook group that is called Solo Travelers. It's Village Gals. And so especially single ladies who want to still go travel but don't want to have to go by themselves. Right. Join that Facebook group. You can find it via our Facebook page and invite to join. And there's constant conversation in there about people saying, I want to go on this tour. Does anyone want to go with me? And then you can buddy up and get that double price or triple or quad, whatever you decide. Right. And you have a friend and buddy to go around with while you're. We have a lot of people who have made friends that way, and they travel together constantly now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the great thing about group travel. You get to meet a lot of great, fun people.
It becomes one big happy family.
That's right.
Someone asked about a Macy Day parade trip. They asked if we've ever done one. I know that we do. I think that's probably one that we could expect to see coming out in the next catalog or after.
Yeah, so that is something that we have looked into, and we are, we're working on that. So I know that it's something.
I misread. I said I saw a Macy Day parade. I remember the Rose Parade. I don't know about a Macy's Day parade.
Macy's Day, it's a little tricky because hotel rooms and things in New York around Thanksgiving, that is a very challenging endeavor. So keep your eyes peeled. We may. I think we're looking into that. I think we've talked about that with some deep extent, but we keep your eye out for that.
Yeah. Let's see, we got to that one. For some people who are not maybe seasoned flyers and are uncomfortable knowing how to maneuver from gate to gate at airports, what's that process like? Do you help them get through the airport and navigate that when they book a tour that requires flights?
That's a great question. So, the way it's handled, we usually send a tour director with the largest group that's flying, and your tour director will meet you at the gate that you're traveling through. So, we give you some insight when you arrive at the departure center. You will get a sheet, and you will usually have, if you're flying out of Wichita, and the largest group is flying out of Wichita, then you will fly with someone that's flying from Wichita, whether it be an Oklahoma City-based or Tulsa-based director. Someone will be with you. If you're flying without your director, you're given instructions, and the personnel will talk you all through that. And also what we do is we ask a more seasoned flyer, seasoned traveler, to be the leader of the group, and they will, you can walk with them to the next gate. We usually fly through Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, Dallas, and Houston. Those are our five. And even though it can seem intimidating, there's signage, and it really does end up being a lot easier than what you think it might be. But we do help you through. And if you're with your tour director, then your tour director meets you at the next gate. And on all international flights, you'll be flying with your director. So if that's something that you're worried about, we will take care of you.
Awesome. One quick question about the Washington, D.C. trips. There's two. Yeah. There's the D.C. cherry blossoms that people may be familiar with. Yes. What's the difference between that and the Washington, D.C. trip?
Beautiful. That's a great question also. So the D.C. cherry blossoms trip, for one thing, is a bus out and bus back. So you're going to be on the motor coach going out and coming back, which means that you see some really fascinating, fun things on your way out and on your way back. You're going to go to the Kentucky Derby Museum there in Louisville, which is awesome. It's great. You can try on hats that they've worn at the Kentucky Derby. But you also get to go see all the things like the House of the Confederacy. You're going to go to Thomas Jefferson's place, Monticello, all of that. And so mainly the main difference is that's 11 days on the DC Cherry Blossoms. That's a legacy tour. Our legacy tours are ones that we've run again and again and have been very popular. And we really put these tours through a microscope and make them better every time. So that is a nice trip. One of the fun things that you do on that trip is you go to a whistle factory. I know it sounds crazy, but isn't that fascinating? They show you how they build the whistles. They show you the difference in the pea size that goes into the whistle, and they show you the different, that's...
What's crazy is people see this, really, we're going to whistle, really? And then they come out going, that was so cool.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah,
and 5B's Embroidery is also a really neat place. You can find some really fun transfer, T-shirts and different things for all your family. It's a really fun. So that's the DC Cherry Blossoms. Now, just like in any trip that is dependent on weather, we call it DC Cherry Blossoms. We will not guarantee that they'll be in full bloom, but it's still a beautiful area. So even if they're not in bloom, you see great, beautiful things.
If they're not, the magnolias will probably be in bloom, and they're pretty too.
Yeah. So we could call it DC Cherry Blossoms or magnolias. Anyway, magnolia.
And if you don't know the difference,
who cares?
Pretend they're cherry blossoms.
And then the DC trip is actually very unique. We're doing a few things that we don't do on the cherry blossoms trip. So this is a 6-day trip. You fly out and fly back. So obviously a little shorter, 5 days less, but you do get to see some of the great things. You're going to go to the National Archives. You'll have a self-guided tour through there. But you're also seeing the Holocaust Museum, and this is the only tour where we offer the Holocaust Museum. And so that is unique in itself. And you'd want to go, the Udvar Hazy Center is something else that we're going to. That's where the Enola Gay is kept, and so there's a fascinating historical, some significance, to that. And so that's the main differences. I mean, you're gonna see the Holocaust Museum. There'll be a nice cruise on the Potomac. There's a lot of different things. Yeah, the Arlington National Cemetery, which I love. That Arlo Guthrie is there. Kathleen O'Hara is buried there because her husband was military, so she's actually buried there. You can go see her. Taft is buried there, and of course John F. Kennedy is there, and so that's worth it.
I had a very emotional time at Arlington one time. We're getting off of our bus, and these veterans, World War II veterans, are getting out of their van. Guys, I got off the bus, and I have tears just flowing down my eyes watching these men, knowing what they've been through. Incredibly emotional time.
Yeah.
But it's something to see.
It's powerful to see.
It is powerful.
And I will tell you that the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is probably one of the most powerful things. I mean, you can hear a pin drop, and they do ask that there's no sound. But you can hear a pin drop, and it is really a powerful thing. And the precision and the significance and the just all of it, you can tell that it really is quite an honorable thing for a soldier to have that duty.
If you research to see what they go through, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really great. So, and there's a lot of great fun things, historical. I don't know how many people know that Robert E. Lee's family actually owned the land that Arlington sits on, and that was a big feud with the government for a long time. So there's all kinds of great historical things.
Also going to Mount Vernon.
Yeah, Mount Vernon and all that too. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Two more easy questions.
Okay.
The other than the meals and excursions, and obviously a lot that Village takes care of and covers, are there any sort of hidden tips or things like that that someone should plan for and budget for financially when they go on a tour? What kind of things should they have in mind when they're planning on how much extra cash to bring?
That's a great question. So, without sounding needy, our tour directors and drivers work really, really hard. And so in your itinerary, at the bottom of your itinerary, you will usually see that we do suggest a $5 per day per person for the driver and a $5 per day per person for the director. There is an awful lot of research and stress that goes into, I like to say that it's kind of like a duck. You see it on the top floating, but underneath they're doing this. So they're always working hard for you. So we do stress that is very helpful and very, very much appreciated. I don't like to beg for tips, but our gratuities that does help them, because they're away from their families, and in the spring and fall they're away from their families quite a bit, and so we travel a lot. So that is one of the things that you might end up. Now, when we have a step-on guide, we do take care of the gratuity for the step-on guide. But if you find that they are phenomenal and you just over and above and all of that, and you want to give them a buck or two, you absolutely can do that.
And the same in restaurants.
Yeah, restaurants
Village
are the same
takes care of the tip, but if they're phenomenal,
you
can leave $1 or something.
And many times when we're traveling through somewhere, if we will do what we call a scatter meal, and so if the meal isn't included, we will plan where to stop, or we will give you suggestions on where to go near the hotel or things like that when the meal is not included. So that would be on your own, and that would be an expense. And then if you want to do any shopping or anything like that,
if you're a shopaholic, just go and take $500 extra or something. I don't know. As long as we have room under the bus for all your shopping.
Yeah. We did have a lady one time that bought a weather vane, and it came apart, luckily, so we fit it under there. But we we can't take all the rocking chairs from Cracker Barrels. So
I had a lady buy a cedar chest one time, and then she came to the driver and said, "Will this fit?"
yeah, after the fact, right? So, but and international trips are a little bit different with tipping and things. So if you have specific questions about the international trips, usually for international trips, we will do a informational meeting prior to the departure, and then you would be able to ask specifically, specifically about that.
That's awesome. One small note that someone mentioned, they are asking about Kansas City Chiefs trips. We get this all the time, that we do the Chiefs trips a couple, 2-3 times a season.
Right.
And we don't have a lot of those departures that leave from Tulsa or Oklahoma City. Somebody's requested again that we do that. Maybe you could speak a little bit to sort of the factors of kind of how the cost changes when we add on a departure from Tulsa or Oklahoma.
Right. I think people assume that we own our buses and we just can take our bus for free. And that isn't exactly the way it works. Our tour department is actually the largest customer for our charter department. In other words, we pay and we pass that cost to our passengers to pay for fuel, upkeep, the maintenance, the things I spoke about earlier. So all of those are a little bit more expensive than what people might think, that it would just cost us to, it's just like taking your car somewhere. A little different. Obviously, fuel costs, are a big concern. And so adding those shuttles from the different locations are a little bit more expensive. We're not saying that we won't ever do it. We will consider it. Get a hold of us and we'll see. The problem with the Chiefs tickets, and we had, last year we did three departures to Chiefs games. This year we only did 2, and that's mainly because your successful Chiefs that you love so much, prices go up. When they're not winning, prices are not as high. I mean, that's just the basic truth of it. So we only offered 2 this year. Both were wins, so we were glad about that for the Chiefs fans. And you don't have to be a Chiefs fan to go. You can be the other team, or you can go to have fun.
Yeah, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you can go.
What's that?
If you're a Taylor Swift fan, you can go.
Certainly.
You never know.
Taylor Swift fan for sure. So anyway, so to answer that question, it just varies, and but give us a call and we'll chat about that.
Awesome. Well, you guys made it through all the questions. That's the last one. I'll state again for someone that Facebook group is called Village Gals Solo Travelers. And you can find it. We'll make sure to share and post. You can look back on our main Village Travel Facebook page and you can find that. But that's all we got for questions.
Well, I just want to say, call soon, because we have beautiful, wonderful reservationists standing by. Well, sitting, actually. Well, except for Angela in Tulsa. She may be standing. But we want you. They're as friendly as they are perky, and they will take care of you. And if you have any questions, once again, just give us a call. If you have specific things, if you're looking through the catalog and you have specific things you want to know about, don't hesitate to call us, because we'll answer all your questions, and we look forward to seeing you on the road. Thank you, Sylvia.
Come and go with us. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming and joining me for this.
Thank you for the invite.
And we'll see you again, I think, in just around Super Bowl time. So is actually when we'll be back for our next Catalog Cruisin. We hope to see you back for that. And until then, happy travels.
Catalog Cruisin'. Let's go. Catalog Cruisin'.